This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Hey everybody, welcome, and thank you for listening to this episode of Marriage Therapy Radio. My name is Zach Brittle. I'm here today with Kate Northrup and her husband Mike Watts. They have a really intriguing story. It's kind of really the opposite of mine. They have moved around, they have built businesses, they have struggled with significant health challenges, and it's inspiring to hear them talk about how they've navigated all of that. I get to hear a little bit about their experience in couples therapy, their experience raising daughters. I try out a new question, which comes at the end of the episode. It's fun to ponder. And I got to visit an old SNL skit that I love. All of that is coming up. Before we get started, just want to remind you of all the things. Follow us on Instagram at Marriage Therapy Radio. Become part of our Patreon community. You can join my Substack community. That's at stuffiwrite.com. And we're always grateful if you leave us a 5-star review on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. For now, though, I just want you to hang out with Kate and Mike. They're fun folks. They've clearly put in the work, and this is a very cool conversation. Stick around. You guys are in Franklin, Tennessee. That's pretty fun. I grew up in Roanoke, Virginia, so I have that part of the country that I have a real fondness for. But where were you before Franklin?
We were in Miami.
Okay.
And before then, we were in Maine. And I grew up in Maine, and Mike grew up in Northwest Indiana, outside of Chicago.
Okay. Well, tell me about that. How did you go from Maine to Miami to Franklin?
Do you want to say?
We moved. I mean, to make it very simple or long story short.
Yeah.
The way I look at life and to explain this is there's chapters. There's chapters for being in Maine, and then that chapter kind of came to a close, and we were in Miami, and that chapter came to a close. Then we came to Tennessee. So we kind of ended up in Florida as a fluke. I ended up getting pretty sick with something, and we needed to be in a place that the temperature was better versus Maine's winter goes like 8 months, or it feels like.
Yeah.
They just got another 6 inches of snow now.
It is basically an 8-month winter in Maine.
So, and we needed to change our life based off things that were happening. So we actually were in Tampa, and then we were there for a month on vacation, and then never left Florida. And we were there for 4.5 years. And then basically leaving Miami. I mean, this is a very long story that we're just, it's summing it up in a couple seconds.
Abbreviation.
But we just knew it was time for the next chapter. It was time to make a move. Kate wanted to be around grass again. The nature in Miami is like, it's going to kill you one way or another. You lay on the grass, it could kill you. The tree could hit you.
The grass is very spiky or smushy.
Yeah. So we were looking for another place to move, and we've been to Tennessee before. It's kind of the middle of the road. You get all 4 seasons.
Yeah.
You have grass. Nothing's really extreme. Yeah, it's cool. Slower pace of life, and we needed to change for the kids.
I wanted to live somewhere safer for our kids. They're 7 and 10. I wanted them to just be able to ride their bikes down the street and not worry that they were going to get kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
Just basic parent stuff.
Did you get to be in Miami and kind of go, we want to move, and then you just cataloged a bunch of places and pro'd and conned it and figured it out?
Yeah, it was a very proactive move. I mean,
yes.
Kate and I have been together.
It was well thought out.
Yeah, we've been together since 2011, so 15 years, and everything that we have done, I think up to that, was very reactive for moving. We've moved a lot.
I would say impulsive, not reactive.
Okay, well, you can call it impulsive. I'll call it reactive. There's I just look at it as proactive, reactive. You'll call it impulsive. What's the other?
Because it was sourced from within, but it was quick and not thought through. Reactive to me is something happens in the external world and you react.
Okay. If it's not,
now we're in it.
You guys doing any therapy? You ever been in couples therapy before?
Yes.
Oh, a lot, all the time.
Dedicated.
Yeah, for sure. So
it was the definition of words. It's
yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
Well, that's the tone and word definition. That's my life I deal with. So it was just this one. We actually was very thought out.
Okay.
And instead of just saying if we would have moved a year prior, then when we moved here in 25. So if we would have moved in 24, which is when Kate was we got to go, that would have been very reactive / impulsive, and would have been more stressful versus what we did from the summer of 24 to the summer of 25. We really had thought out, made decisions, looked around at places in Florida as well, like to stay where we were, and then came here and, evaluated different places. We visited quite like 4 or 5 times, I think, and just came back and forth, checked out schools, got housing, all
Did
that
our
stuff.
astrocartography.
Yeah.
Is that real? Did you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
What does
that's
that do
real.
for you?
So you look at both of your astrological charts laid over the globe, and you look at like where both of you, it would be super supportive cosmically to live. And for both of us, this was not the main driver of our decision, but it was a fun accessory for both of us. The only place in the United States that's super supportive for both of us is the band of about 200 miles east and west from Chicago to New Orleans, and Nashville, Tennessee fits right in the middle. So
right on.
it was really cool. And it has really felt that way. It's been such an exhale for us. And after about a decade of, we had like a really hard decade, I would say, or eight to 9 years. And this last year has been quite full of blessings. Things have gotten a little bit easier, and I'm grateful for that.
You've been together 15 years, and 8 to 9 of them were really hard.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
How do you tell that story to yourselves? How do you tell that story to us? Like,
Marriage-wise, things have, like our relationship at the core, I would say, this would be interesting to hear our different perspectives, but like it wasn't really hard because we were fighting or someone was cheating or, someone was like addicted to gambling or something. It was the birth of our first daughter was really traumatic for me, and I went into quite a bit of postpartum anxiety and insomnia, and she was really sick. So we had a very sick baby for the first year of parenthood, and it was awful. Just becoming a mother was 100 million times harder than I ever could have expected. And that was very hard on our marriage and our business. But just like having a sick kid for anyone who has dealt with a child with chronic illness is so brutal. And then a year later, Mike started getting sick with something called topical steroid withdrawal, also known as red man syndrome.
Okay.
And that was something that went on from 2016.
It really started in 17. I started getting rashes and things. It was mainly stress, probably very much stress induced. And then I was given oral and topical steroids, and that really backfired starting in 2017 to 2024.
Yeah, that created like a fire in your system, and there were.
And then I like broke my kneecap, and then I got hit by a car and broke my leg. So all that stuff went down, and then we had a second kid in the middle of all that too. So that was the 8-year journey. And
then some political things happened in Maine, and then my mom got publicly canceled, and it was just like such an intense time of like car accidents and broken bones and surgeries, and Mike, all of a sudden would just like drop 40 pounds in 1 month and not be able to function. And we're business partners and married. So just a lot of turmoil. I will say I think we're better than ever. So that's great.
Well,
like even better than early days. In terms of our connection.
Well, our early days were
also tumultuous. We started with
not tumultuous. I mean, that's
an
extreme.
adventure. They weren't tumultuous.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
No, they weren't. No, they weren't emotionally tumultuous. Okay, how would I describe that?
It was it was impulsive.
Impulsive.
I need some popcorn.
Yeah. They were impulsive. Yeah, Mike and I started off our relationship on a 10-month road trip. It was supposed to be, I just like invited him. We barely knew each other.
We didn't know each other.
I invited him completely randomly to drive across the country with me for 5 days. And he never left. And that turned us into us living out of my car for 10 months, going around the country. So our whole like we haven't done a lot of like deep roots stability location wise. And so it feels like a really big deal to have chosen Nashville for our family and like put down roots. We're under contract for a house. We'll see how that goes. And
we're staying in Nashville.
Yeah. Just be stable.
Yeah. I don't I've never really felt that stability thing that happens. It's like where people are like when people tell me they lived in my buddy, one of my best friends, he's lived in the same home. I was just visiting him. His mom passed away in Chicago. And I was like, how long you own this house, bro? And he's like 11 years. And I've known him, since college. And I'm like, God, 11 years.
I think we've lived in 9 houses in 11 years.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Like I mean,
Penelope, I'm going to bed right now with Penelope, our oldest daughter, and she's 10. And I said, we're about to move again once we close on this house. And this is going to be she has this whole thing that she's setting a record for how many homes, world record of how many homes she's lived in at 10. And I said, you're about to live in your 8th house since you're 10 years old.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I wanted to keep the record going. And I was like, I know at her core, she does not, because there's always reactions that come out every time we move. But yes, so now I would say I've been looking at real estate constantly since July of last year, like obsessively. And we bought a rental property, like an investment property in Maine. And then we're looking for the primary residence here in Tennessee. And it's just like I've become obsessed with like finding a place for our family to chill. And
Which has been new for you.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
What changed for you?
What's changed?
Yeah, like why did that new thing?
I think because like I'm not. It's interesting because 2025 was the first time since 2017 I wasn't sick or broken bones or surgeries. So to go from 17 to I had my last surgery December of 24.
Okay,
and to have 1 year where I was still doing rehab and PT and stuff and getting my body back in gear. But that's like training. So it's different than rehabilitation in a way. And for me, it was just like, okay, now I have this other energy. Like energy is coming back to me in ways that I haven't really felt since I was 20 years old, 18 years old, because of like things have just shifted. And a lot has to do with our move coming here. And then just so that's what's really changed, to be like, okay, it feels really good here. Our community's strong here. There's a lot of adventure that can take place. It's the middle of the country. For me, it's like easy to bounce around. So if we're going out west, it's 3-hour flight instead of 7. If we're going back to Maine, it's 2-hour flight instead of 4, right? It's like all of these things of what we want to do in our life, became a little bit easier moving here. And I just started feeling a lot better. Like, and I think that's the big piece of it, where I'm not sick and I'm not in surgery mode. So everything's kind of really changed. And there's this like provider instinct that kicks in. I told this story at our live event in February, but my buddy Steve and I, when he had his first child the same time we did, he was like, man, just got to work. I got this kid now. He was like going crazy about like how much, and I'm like, I don't feel that at all. And it's like, now it's hitting me 10 years after having a kid. I'm just like, okay, we get this stability, we get this done, and it does this. And I knew once we had our primary house decided, and obviously we're not closed yet, and the inspection and all that stuff, but it's like once that takes place, it like frees up so much space and energy to do other things. So, that's what's kind of shifted. I think a lot has to do with I'm just healthy again.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I I actually think it's pretty fascinating that you would. I mean, I didn't know you could move. Like I lived in the same house when I grew up in one house. The only reason we moved is because my parents declared bankruptcy and we couldn't afford to stay in our house, so we had to go to another house. But it wasn't because we wanted to go to Miami or thought Maine would be cool, or astrocartography-wise, we were like, this is the place that looks the best. And then, we've been in Seattle for 25 years and in the same house. And so I think it's actually incredible when people do have the freedom to kind of move around and do their thing. And so that's intriguing to me for sure. It's worth asking. Did you also lay your kids' maps, star charts over top of the thing, or are they supposed to move to LA at some point? And
interestingly enough, what the philosophy is for astrocartography is that as long, and I think this is a metaphor for everything, the kids will do great wherever the mother does well.
Okay.
So you don't actually have to do your kids' astrocartography until they're going out on their own. So it's based on the mother's well-being.
Okay. Where did
Now,
you?
I'm sure there are different astrocartographers who would tell you different things, but that's what the one who we worked with said. And I was like, that feels so deeply right to me because of, babies and nervous systems and the way the mother's nervous system sets the tone for the whole family. That whole, it's such a cliche, but if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. That's just true. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Is that true?
We'll do theirs when they're 18.
Was that true of you and your mom?
Yeah. 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 My mom lives in the same house that she bought in 1980.
Okay.
So I grew up with so much stability, and my mom's family still lives on the farm that she grew up on. And my dad still spends summers on the same property that his grandmother and my great grandmother owned. So there's so much stability. So I have felt like the delinquent. With oh my gosh, I'm totally screwing up my kids. We're all over the place. But I would say that's true was true in my upbringing. I will say my mom has always, she says, I have a rich inner life. And my mom always she's always up to something. And same with my dad. They're both really curious people. They're always learning. They're always up to something. And I am so grateful for that because I never felt pressure around I'm their source of joy or I have to do something to keep them entertained or give them purpose. Possibly a little bit more. I was hi guys, hello. But overall, I love how much she was just doing her own thing.
Yeah. And then you have two girls, Penelope and who's the other one?
Ruby. They're 7 and 10.
Does Penelope get to be called Penny ever, or does she strictly?
Only at school.
Yeah, in Miami she was called Penny a lot. I don't know what
she's named after my Aunt Penny.
She's not really called. I think just Penelope.
I think people just call her. I don't know. Yeah, she never really chose Penny. I call her P. Penelope is a big name.
She told us we were not allowed to call her Penny.
Right on.
Right, at some point.
It's one of my favorite names, Penelope and Penny. It's a
great name, isn't it?
I have two girls. They are 23 and 19 right now. So you're in the, nobody on the podcast will be surprised to hear me say this again, which is I feel like parenting young adults is harder than parenting young kids. So this whole idea of whatever's good for the mom is good for them. I'm okay, sure. Until they're 15, 16, 17. And then it's oh yeah. But when they're 23 and 19, it's they're people. They're actual people, and you have so much less influence than you currently think you do. But what? Okay. Well, what's your thing? When people talk to the two of you, or they meet the two of you, or you think about your marriage, what would you say is this is our thing? What is? Do you have a thing?
Yeah, I mean,
I love people with a thing.
We have a lot.
We have a lot of things.
Well, what do you define as a thing?
I have my favorite interview that I've recently done was I have a couple that I talked to, and their thing is that they are escape room people. They do escape rooms.
That's really cool.
They've done 3,500 escape rooms.
Wow.
But they've done
I never want to do an
escape room.
She would be
I don't ever want to go to an escape room.
All over the world.
The idea of it makes me panic even saying the word. Our thing is not escape rooms, but I would say it's honestly, it's always been business for us.
Okay.
It's business and babies and bodies.
Travel,
health.
adventure.
So it's health.
Business and babies and bodies. I'm a love alliteration. So let's
business, bodies, and babies. It's really been, since we met through work, and our thing is really about building stuff together, whether it's an event, a program. I know. And Mike loves to build stuff, and now he's building out this whole Airbnb short-term rental arm of our life. So I really am fairly uninvolved. But business. Business is our thing.
Listen to this. Do you know that there are Airbnbs that are also escape rooms?
Wow. I did not.
You can go spend the night in an escape room and solve it while you're there, and then you can have sex, and you can have dinner, and you can go out to the park and whatever, and then come back. So that's what you should do. That you should do that.
I should do that with Kate.
Yeah.
No,
I could do that with somebody else.
You should do that for myself. Your Airbnb.
Build that in my Airbnb.
Yeah.
That doesn't really interest me, but I'm going to look into it. Okay. I do like the idea of a theme, space, like the Airbnb space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say our theme in Maine is not really, we don't have one defined at this moment. I think we can, right now we had to do a gut renovation. So right now I'm just trying to get to the finish line of the gut renovation.
The theme is getting it done.
Yeah, the theme's getting it done.
But also we're putting in.
The theme is stop writing checks.
We're putting in
now.
organic, organic linens and non-toxic. So like our thing is non-toxic, healthy travel. For the Airbnbs.
I don't know how that's
body first.
Okay.
I mean, we'll come up with something better.
We'll come up with something, but yeah.
Why do you care about bodies? Like, what does that mean to you? What is that?
Well,
It's all we got.
It's all we got. It's the one thing it's even though bodies work in very different ways, it is the great equalizer. Like we all have a body and it's the only relationship that we have that's consistent from the day we're born until the day we die.
Okay.
And our bodies come preloaded with this incredible technology that no one ever was taught because religious conditioning and cultural conditioning, especially for women, but for everyone, has taught us that the body is like dirty or shameful or desirous and meant to be like we should suppress everything. Or in the spiritual community, it's like, oh, that's just a meat suit. And I'm like, no. We are designed to be able to have these incredible states of consciousness, these incredible states of ecstasy, these deep knowings, this connection with nature, that to me, it's our greatest source of power. And if we can learn to fully inhabit our bodies, that is our inroad to being our most powerful selves. So for me, it's always about the body. And of course, a huge through line in our story is bodies not functioning optimally and the way that I think, for me personally, like it's just built up tremendous compassion for humans going through what we have gone through. And I personally, I think I needed that. I needed that, like I needed my edges softened and my idea of like, oh, just do it. Just like get it done to be squashed a little bit.
Yeah, there's so much lessons that happen when we actually pay attention to what our bodies are telling us. And one of the reasons we ended up in Miami another answer to the question you asked me earlier was my body was forcing, somebody told us this, so this is not, I didn't make this up, but they were basically, it's like Mike's body is forcing you to make a change that you're resisting to make. Mm-hmm. And when I think back where we lived in Maine and that experience, it was beautiful, but it's like I wasn't fully happy there due to a variety of circumstances. And for us to go to Miami, it created an aliveness in Kate and I. Even though I was really sick, when I was really sick, Kate became really alive with all of her friends and social hangouts, and just being in Miami, there was an aliveness that took place. But the only reason that happened is, I don't know if we would have ever made the decision to like, we're moving to Miami, but it was my body kind of shutting down to force us to go, and we listened to it to follow. Yeah. So it's like it tells us things. And
yeah. So how have you learned to pay attention? Like, I get that.
Well, it took me a long time. So for me, basically what happened in 2018 and again in 2021 is this withdrawal symptoms that Kate was talking about, my skin turned into like a snake. So it was like the worst sunburn you've ever had times 1,000. Yeah, it's like I was just shedding I would wake up in the morning, have to vacuum my bed because all the amount of skin that was just sitting there. And it just kept happening and happening every day. And I was like, how long does this go on for? And then I started thinking about layers of skin and how does this work? And I'm like, is it all going to just fall off and then it's just my muscle or nerves or whatever? Yeah, so all these crazy things would happen. And then it's like, okay, I didn't learn my lesson from that one. So like, let's go break your kneecap. Okay, I didn't learn my lesson from that one. So let's go get hit by a car. And then how many... bonehead Mike, when are you going to pay attention, right? So for me, it was just like these, and it was like, okay, I have to look at the way I'm operating differently than I have before. And in the meantime I was also injured at downhill mountain biking and all sorts of other things that took place. So it's like, how am I for me, this was, my experience is like, this is how I'm showing up in the world. these things keep happening, well, these things are going to, and then I was like, well, maybe they're probably going to keep happening unless I change the way I was showing up originally. And that's what ended up happening for me. So it was like, what is the way for me to show up differently than to stop having to go through this like torture is what I felt like.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's for me, that's why I started listening. And then I started implementing strategies, right? So how did I do that? Journaling has been effective for me. It's been very inconsistent in my life, but I restarted again in the last couple of weeks, and it's actually been really nice. Meditating for sure. I started attending Joe Dispenza events. That was really eye-opening for myself. I did a psychedelic psilocybin experience. It was a guided with a therapist to help me, and that really got me started opening my heart again. Same thing that happened at Joe Dispenza events. So if somebody's not into a psychedelic experience, there is go to Joe Dispenza event. You're going to experience the exact same thing. It's just with 2,000 other people doing the same thing and no substances.
Yeah.
This is all naturally created. So that's where, because I used to do a lot of drugs and drink a lot in college.
Okay.
And so for a good run of from the time I was 16, 28, had this wild, crazy adventures. And then I was always obsessed with these outer body type of experiences. And I realized after going to the Joe Dispenza event, I was like, oh, I could just have this stuff naturally. And I'm doing this with this body naturally. So, I mean, those are some things that really helped me kind of tap back in. Obviously, you mentioned couples therapy previously. It's that has been a huge source of help for Kate and I over the years. And then having kids, it opens, for me, it really was a heart opener where it's I'm actually not in control. It's a total illusion. And you got these little faces that just reflect back. We're very open with our children. We have very clear lines of communication. Obviously, there's boundaries that exist there. But for the most part, my kids will just look at me and Dad, I don't like the way you're talking to me, straight to my face. And I'm just oh, okay, from a 5-year-old. So maybe I should or you make me feel this way. They're very expressive and they're very direct, which that's how I am. So it's very confronting when they talk back to you like that. And you're just and not in a rude way. So I want to be very clear. It's if they're speaking to me rudely,
I got you.
That's a different conversation. I will definitely be excuse me, can we, but if I'm not being kind, that's different, right? That I can reflect to that, reflect them. So those are some of the things that have helped me.
Yeah. Kate, tell me about couples therapy. I think a lot of people are listening and sometimes they use this podcast as a supplement for couples therapy. They can't afford it or they don't want to go.
Yeah.
But what have you guys experienced and how has it been meaningful for you? Have you done it once? Have you done it a million times? Have you done it what do you learn? What is the deal? What does it do for you?
So I had we had an agreement when we got engaged, and I said, you have to be willing to get help if we ever need help. Not you personally, but we have to. You have to be willing. Yeah.
Well, and solo if
necessary. But so that was that was one of the cards that I had on the table when we got engaged. And I come from a family of divorce. And when it was 2016. Penelope was about a year old, and I cannot remember exactly what happened, but I do remember calling one of my best friends from the supermarket parking lot and saying, we are having a marriage SOS. I don't know that this is going to work out. I need help. And she sent us to her couples therapist. And we have worked with him ever since. Here and there, for a while, we worked with him maybe weekly or I don't actually remember.
We had a run where we had a good run for every a while. Week or every other week for a while. Yeah. When we moved to Miami, it got pretty rough. It was when I was sick a lot.
Yeah. Early days 2016, and then we would come in for these more intensive periods. We haven't talked to him in a long time now because he's on a freaking sabbatical.
Yeah, it's been going a year. He's
hello.
He's
but life is good. So
he's doing whatever he's doing, which I support. But but we've been in a really good place. But I think that you said something really smart about what your experience was when I said, like, we need help in 2016. Do you remember what?
Yeah, I think, I grew up in Indiana. Like, she grew up in New England. So it's like much different. Everybody's got a therapist in New England from the time they're 2. It's just like that whole area. It's like everybody's, I got mine, I got this. But so growing up in the Midwest, and once you get out of that area, it changes a lot. And I didn't know, I'm sure there were therapists, but I didn't know any families. My parents never talked about it that would go to therapy. So it was something completely out of and also being a man, like we can't admit our faults, like asking for support, asking for help. It gets much more challenging, gets much more difficult. Having your wife come to you and say, we should go to therapy. It can be very emasculating. Is that the word?
Maybe.
Yeah, that is a word. Yep. Yeah. That's a good word.
So, okay. I think that's the right word, I don't know. But it can be very confronting to be like, oh my God, now I'm failing. And we go down these, and then we just fall down a dark, dark space of failure, or we believe we're failing in this way. So when Kate came to me, when we first started talking about this, I was like, okay, well, if I'm running a business and I need a marketing person, and somebody says we should go get a marketing person, I'm not going to spiral out about, oh my God, sometimes I do, but it's like, it's not that big of a deal. You're just like, okay, I'll go hire this person. I need a landscaper to cut my grass. Okay, I'll just go hire a landscaper to cut my grass. And I just thought that the therapist was just like that. This is like hiring a landscape company to cut my grass for our relationship. And if we want to make this thing work, sometimes it makes sense. Because I just realized, like, relationships are complicated.
Oh yeah? Tell me more.
It's just, you're taking lineages from centuries, compounding into 2 people who are supposed to now create this life together. And you're like, hey, everything is great. And it's like, no, everybody, even living in this world, like the amount of people from your lineage who's alive is maybe 2 to 3 generations back, right? Or 1 to 2, 3 generations probably tops. And so to look at it from there with all that stuff that's passed down and stored in our bodies, and as we show up, and then all of a sudden you take these 2 people and it's supposed to be get together, and it's like, okay, that can be hard, right? And it is hard. And so, like, how do you unpack these things? So it's great to have a lot of we were fighting about a stuffed pepper in the kitchen. That's how the whole thing started.
Yeah, it started about
I don't even know why.
Who was making dinner.
But it was like stuffed peppers is how we ended up in marriage therapy. And so for me, it was another, I think very operations and systems. So I'm like, okay, system is marriage. This is it. Let's go see. We can go through this. If this doesn't work, then we reevaluate like the relationship. But it kept working. So we're still here.
Do you have a theory? Do you have if you're on an airplane and somebody says, how does marriage work? Do you have an answer based on what you've learned or what you've cobbled together? That'd be a really rude question for somebody to ask you on a plane. Be like, hey man, how does your marriage work?
I think it's a great question if somebody asks you that, because if they're like newly married or want to do this, or what's your advice or something.
All right.
So I think for us, when I filled out your form, to me was like, we have good communication and we'll listen to each other. It wasn't always that way, but then we're able to, I think, asking for help when we know we need help, and then supporting the other person to get the help that they need instead of trying to fix the other person. One thing Kate always does for me is like, who can you ask for support? Right? So it's a reminder to me.
Not me.
Exactly.
That's the subtext.
And same for her.
Who else can you talk to about this?
Because I needed reminding I have the support system. So it's my job to ask for that. So for me, she understands that. And then the same thing with her, like we can reflect that back. But I think open lines of communication, I think creating dates. We do a weekly date night, and it's been pretty consistent. We really try to, right?
Even when Mike couldn't walk and could barely stand, we would
still go out. So, and it was like miserable, but we still did it. So for me, she had a great time.
Yeah.
I didn't. You were not great company. But we kept it. We kept it.
Now that I've been healthier, our date nights look like Kate gets really tired and falls asleep at the table. So, so now I'm just dealing with a person that's tired at the table, at this
We
stage.
should go on your date nights in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
We do a lot of coffee dates.
Yeah.
But what I mean, so we have weekly day nights, but also when are the time to talk about certain things, right?
Yeah.
So, because we run a business together, how many times do you end up in the kitchen? It's like, hey, did you call so-and-so about this? And I'm like, I'm trying to chop broccoli and
trying
the
to
kids
stuff
are
this pepper
screaming.
right here.
I'm
Leave
trying
me
to stuff the
alone.
peppers, right?
Yeah.
And so you just like, and then it's like, all right, we're chopping broccoli. And then the kids are yelling. It's like, okay, nope. We have money date meetings. We have planning meetings. We have like, there's a meeting for, it's not
We have
overly
containers for certain
great.
things. And that has been
That's the best.
the biggest. I am naturally, I wouldn't say I'm chaotic, but I see every single thing as connected all the time. And Mike is much more compartmentalized of like, this is over here and this is over here. And so we're good for each other in that way. But the containers for specific kinds of conversations that are repeated dates in our calendar is such a game changer, so that like logistics aren't leaking into date night, and business, I'm not like telling him an idea as we're going to bed, or it's just really been a game changer for us.
Yeah. I have 2 questions for you. Number one, I don't know how old you are, but are you old enough to know?
We're both 42. Are you 43?
I'm 43.
Yeah.
43 and a half.
Early 40s.
As of yesterday was my half birthday. So
Okay.
Oh, happy half birthday.
yeah, it's only because my mom
His mother used to make him a cake on his half birthday. And I'm like, we don't do that. So like every year,
I'm not
I've
asking
never
for that.
once remembered. Sorry.
No, I don't care. I only remember my half birthday because I used to get a cake. a
His mother set the bar really high.
I'm 10 years older than you, and I remember a Saturday Night Live skit about chopping broccoli. Do you know this skit?
No.
It is amazing.
We'll watch it.
So amazing. Yeah, I'll make sure to follow up and send it to you.
Okay.
But it's like Dana Carvey singing, chopping broccoli, chopping broccoli. He's at the piano and he's like, it is so fun. So I couldn't help myself. You were like, chopping broccoli. I was like, I know that song. Okay. I learned this new question today. This will be maybe our closing-ish kind of question. But if your partner, if the other, were a piece of clothing in your closet, what piece of clothing would they be?
Mike would be my like most favorite fitting jeans.
Okay.
That are like, they just like look amazing, but they like make me feel sexy but comfortable at the same time, and like they just work every time.
Okay, that's high praise. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
If my partner was a piece of clothing, it's my grandma couch shoes.
Oh yeah, tell me about that.
What?
Well, you have a lot of personality, so you shine bright.
Grandma couch shoes?
Yeah, the purple
what does
shoes.
That even mean?
Oh, well, that's the model of them.
Oh, those.
box.
You have to describe.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Okay, great.
I'm going to, yes. That's
Kate is a very old woman.
I'm sorry.
In my
As soon
life.
as you said grandma, I was just like, but now I know what you're talking about.
Okay, grandma couch shoes.
she is unexpected and a full experience. And I bought these shoes that they call them, because they come in back in like the early 90s, those couches that were wrapped in plastic.
Yep.
So that's Kate. No, I'm just kidding. The box comes like it's wrapped in plastic. And so it was, this whole idea came about because of this woman, and it was his grandmother.
Okay.
And so he created a shoe experience out of these Adidas shoes. And so you unzip the plastic, you pull out the box. There's a poster that comes with it. There's a bag that the shoes come in. There are multiple different color shoelaces that you can use. They're purple, red, white. So it's like an adventure in a box, and that's by far my wife.
Okay, you guys, you should have seen Kate's face. She was waiting. She's like, "What? Where's this going? What does this mean?
I know,
Should I be offended? Am I going to be? Am I going to be?
Like it.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
Right on. Yeah, I just saw that question today on like an Instagram reel or something. I was like, that's a good question, because if it's this, the sweatshirt that you want to wear at home, but you don't ever want to take outside, that's a little different, right? Like, or whatever. So, okay, we talked about your babies. We talked about your bodies. What's your business? Do people need to know about your business? What is that?
Probably.
Is that a thing? Okay.
We help high capacity humans upgrade their financial life.
Okay.
Through really building the energetic and logistical infrastructure that no one else will ever see, but it's the stuff on the inside that's behind the scenes, that's done in secret or only heard in your inside voice, that makes all the difference on the outside of what other people will see.
How do you do that?
We do that through a combination of neuroscience-based, like neurosomatic techniques, nervous system healing, brain rewiring, and then practical personal finance that's rooted actually in fun and pleasure as opposed to like, this is a boring snooze. And then manifesting and wealth energetics and expanding beyond the identity maybe that we inherited, so we can have a new experience with money. And we do that with one signature program that's called Relaxed Money that we've been teaching. This is our 6th time.
Okay. So who am I? Like, who am I if I want to work with you? Am I like, do I have a ton of money? Do I have a little bit of money? Am I either one? Like, who?
You could be either one. Mm-hmm. I will say that our people are like, they have successful careers. They're leaders in some capacity. They might be leaders in the home, leaders in their community. They're people who people look up to and respect. Mm-hmm. So they have this level of, they look really successful on the outside, and in some way behind the scenes, there's like a disconnect between how it looks on the outside and how it feels on the inside with their money.
That. Yeah.
And that could manifest in a lot of different ways, but it's like that tension that they want it to feel as successful as it looks.
Mm-hmm. So if I'm wearing the right clothes, but I don't necessarily have the right posture, you're going to help me with posture.
Yeah, posture, systems, stewardship.
Yeah.
We also do quite a bit of like actual wealth building. So how can you pull on the different levers in your life so that you can get your money working for you instead of you always working for your money?
Well, I have a plan for you, which is I think you should make an Airbnb that is an escape room, and I will come to it, and I will tell everyone.
Are you really into escape rooms?
I'm about to be. I enjoyed that conversation so much.
Inspired?
And I was inspired. There's one in Joshua Tree. There's one in San Antonio. So
an Airbnb escape room? Or just
I really can see how that would create aliveness in a marriage.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
I even though like I'm not interested in going to an escape room, I can see how the like tension and the challenge, and honestly, our entire business is an escape room. Like we're constantly in that. So it's similar.
Yeah. And you get to solve problems, and you start to look at like how that person performs under pressure, and how does this person perform? Yeah.
You should check it out. I forget what number it is, but it was just a month or so ago. But the reason I like to ask people what their thing is because there's always something to learn from the thing, right? If your thing is sports, if your thing is music, if your thing is business, if your thing is astrology, shoot. I mean, there's something about, we can always learn something from somebody about something. And my new thing right now is I think everybody's fascinating. So I can almost promise you I will never do an astrological map chart situation. It probably never guide but the fact that it guided yours, I'm like, that's amazing. I love that. That is the coolest thing I've ever heard. And then, your kids are going to get their own little map when they're 18, and that's going to say a thing, and you guys are going to put wind behind it. And that's what it's all about. It's like, do your thing, do it well, and see what you can learn from that thing. And that's what I think. So
I love that.
I think you'll do an astrocartography reading or an astrological reading of something.
I'll make you a deal.
You can let us know when you do that.
When I come to your main Airbnb escape room, I will do the astrological chart. So I have some things to send you. I got to send you this chopping broccoli video. I got to send you, I'll send you the link to that last recording. But where should I send people if they want to learn more about you guys? What is the way that they find Mike and Kate?
So at Kate Northrup on Instagram is a great place. My podcast, Plenty. Mike is a frequent guest. We used to have a show called The Kate and Mike Show.
Okay.
So our listeners like the episodes best when he comes and joins.
Yeah.
And katenorthrup.com.
Okay, right on. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with me and telling me a bit about your story. This is, I always love talking to people. I always tell people I have this enormous privilege of speaking to couples every day. I mean, I have a full practice. I've talked to thousands of couples, and I got to do this podcast. And most people don't get to do that. Most people don't get to talk to a lot of couples. They talk to one, two, like you said, generationally, we have access to 2, maybe 3 generations of our own kind of marriage story or relationship story. So the fact that we get to tell other people about other ways to do things is a blessing. And I'm glad that you participated with me. So thanks for doing that.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Okay. That's Kate and Mike. I loved watching them interact with each other and kind of pick their battles in real time. And if you want to learn more about how to kind of reconcile your exterior money experience with your interior experience of being a human, check out katenorthrup.com or follow her on Instagram. Thanks again for being a part of this Marriage Therapy Radio community. What you can do on the socials, what you can do on Patreon, what you can do just by spreading the word or leaving a review. But for now, I'll thank you for the time and attention you're putting into making your relationship better today than it was yesterday.